All right, let's just jump right in. Today, we're going to demystify one of the biggest names in graphic design, a program that's both incredibly powerful and, yeah, sometimes a little intimidating, Adobe Illustrator. Have you ever had this experience? You open it up, you take one look at all those tools and panels, and you just think, nope, and close it right back down. I have been there. It can look seriously overwhelming at first glance. Well, if that's you, then you are in the exact right place. Because we're going to cut through all that noise. By the end of this, you'll get the main idea behind it, and you'll be ready to make your very first simple design. I promise. Now, before we even think about clicking a single tool, there is one single concept you have to understand. It is the absolute foundation of what makes Illustrator, well, Illustrator. And that word is vector. Okay, so you know how a photograph is made up of a bunch of tiny little squares, right? We call those pixels. Well, Illustrator doesn't use pixels. Instead, it uses math. It's basically playing a game of connect the dots, using points and lines and curves to draw shapes. And that one little difference is its superpower. And here's the magic trick. Because it's all based on math equations and not a fixed grid of pixels, you can take a vector graphic and you can shrink it down to the size of a postage stamp, or you can blow it up to the size of a billboard, and it will never get blurry, ever. It stays perfectly sharp, perfectly crisp, no matter the size.
So here's the simple takeaway. When you need clean lines that have to look perfect at any size, think logos, icons, stuff like that, you need vector graphics. That is Illustrator's whole job. For everything else, like photos from your camera, that's where you use raster or pixel-based images. Just getting that difference is seriously half the battle.
Okay, now that we've got the big idea of vector down, let's actually look at the program itself. And I know, it looks kind of like the cockpit of an airplane. But don't worry, we can simplify this whole screen into just 3 main zones to get you started.
First up, over on the left-hand side, you've got the toolbar. This is exactly what it sounds like. It's your digital toolbox. It's got your pens, your shape tools, your type tool, basically everything you need to actually draw and create things.
Now, see that big white rectangle in the middle of the screen? That is your artboard. The easiest way to think of it is as your canvas or your piece of paper. If you want something to show up in your final design, it has to be on this artboard.
And finally, on the right-hand side, we have the panels. This is your control center. So once you've drawn a shape on your artboard, this is where you go to change its color, adjust its settings, and fine-tune all the little details.
All right, enough talk. You understand vectors, you know the basic layout of the program. Let's get our hands dirty. It's time to actually make something right now. And honestly, it's this easy. First, go over to your toolbar and just pick a shape tool. Let's grab the rectangle. Next, click your mouse anywhere on the artboard and just drag it. Then, let go, and boom, you just made a vector shape. Now you can grab that main selection arrow to click on it and start changing things. Now, every single shape you make in Illustrator has 2 basic properties. The first one is called the fill, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It's the color that fills up the inside of your shape. You can change it to anything you want over in the panels. The second property is called the stroke. The stroke is simply the outline or the border of your shape. You can change its color too, and you can also change how thick or thin it is. We call that its weight. And that's pretty much it, a fill and a stroke. Those are the 2 fundamental building blocks of almost everything in Illustrator. So you just made a shape. You gave it a color on the inside and an outline on the outside. You might be thinking, okay, that's it? But what's truly incredible is that this simple little action is the foundation for almost every single piece of professional design you see out in the world. So how does that simple box become something amazing? Well, you take that simple shape, you combine it with others, you tweak it a bit, and suddenly you're designing iconic logos, or cartoons and characters, or business cards, social media posts, even the little icons and buttons inside the apps on your phone. Every single one of those things starts right here, with these simple paths, fills, and strokes. So just remember, that little rectangle you just made isn't just a rectangle. It is the first step. It is the fundamental skill that scales all the way up to creating the designs that millions of us see and use every single day. So you've got the essentials now. You get what a vector is, you know your way around the workspace, and you know the power of a simple fill and stroke. You have the basic building blocks. So the only real question left is, what would you want to create first?